At the world. At the world.
And they're doing well, you would think, you know, but
Angry at the world.
oh.
And for what reason?
Tom Brokaw will be on tomorrow, and on Wednesday our friend Doris Kearns-Goodman will be on.
Right.
Andy Rooney appears on the CBS News Magazine program 60 Minutes, writes a nationally syndicated newspaper column, over 150 papers around the country. He has written numerous best-selling books. Sincerely, Andy Rooney is his latest, and has just been released by the book publisher Public Affairs. In fact, the official publication date is tomorrow,
Yeah.
December 7th, and here he is now. Good morning, Mr. Rooney.
Morning, Don.
How are you?
Good.
Why did you decide to do this book?
I don't know. I'm a compulsive writer, and once you've written something, you know, writers like to save their stuff and keep it. Then you might as well have somebody read it, so it was published.
And you saved everything now.
Well, you know, once you start writing on a computer, you're trapped. Everything just goes in that great storehouse in the box. And before that, I had people who worked with me who kept letters that people sent me and clipped them to answers I gave. So, yeah, I had everybody accuses me of that as if it was something bad that I kept my letters.
You know, I found out that even though you put something in the trash, it's still, I guess there's a way to get it off of your hard drive, but...
Well, what is that? All of a sudden it comes up and...
Because I've written some letters that, like you have one section in your book of letters written but not sent. I have a lot of those.
Yeah.
You know, this will reveal my lack of a formal education, but I'm kidding.
You reveal that quite often. You know, as a matter of fact, you were in the book at one point, and somebody must have taken it out. I had some complaint about usage, something you frequently misuse.
Well, it could be anything.
You know what it was? You don't want to know.
Yeah, I do.
It was the word comprise. You say... you know, the whole comprises the part. You do not say something is comprised of.
I say that all the time.
Yes, I know it. Don't say it anymore.
I won't. Believe me. That ends now. Well, Charles and I, there are words every day that come up that Charles and I both...
Sure.
For example, why did you use the word, I guess this is the way you pronounce it, striated in describing this collection of letters as a striated autobiography?
Well, I did not want to suggest that this was a comprehensive look at my whole life, and it is strains of my life. I think of striated as being strains like coal mine. Having striated areas where there's coal, and then there's dirt, and then there's other stuff.
Well, you can't. Charles and I had a phone conversation about this.
Mm-hmm.
I called him because whenever I want to know something, I call him.
And that's just what we thought.
That's what you thought.
Well, I
said the word, I said I didn't understand why he would use that word, and Charles said it did not bother him. So.
No.
If it doesn't bother him, it doesn't bother me.
Is it okay? I had planned not to have anything funny to say when I started.
That's fine.
I'm a sort of an experienced listener of Imus, and I never like it when somebody comes on and they have 2 or 3 jokes they plan to have.
It is tedious, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So I deliberately decided not to have anything.
You already got a laugh. Unintentionally, obviously. Why did you include letters only that you had written?
Well, you don't own the material that somebody sends you. If somebody writes you a letter, you own the paper it comes on, but you do not own the material that they put on it.
Oh, I see.
In other words,
Yeah.
You cannot... I could have gotten permission from everybody, but that would be a long job. I guess Brokaw has done that. I don't know. I see he's got a new book out.
Yeah.
And you can get... I suppose you could get written permission, but it seemed like a long way around. A lot of the people I have in my letters are no longer with us.
I would have liked to have read the letter that Peggy Noonan wrote you. Were you annoyed with her? Are you annoyed with her?
Well, I think Peggy both ingratiates herself and annoys almost everybody she knows.
What has she specifically done to you that prompted that letter? I didn't, because it didn't make any sense to me. It made some sense, but not a lot.
Well, I'm trying to remember the letter. I don't know what she said, but I remember she wrote me a letter when she was working for Nixon. And Reagan, when she was writing for Reagan. And I remember what she said. It was a very interesting observation. She said he never thanks anybody for anything they do. It's you do it, and he takes it and accepts it, but he never thanks anybody for anything. It was interesting. I mean, you hear so many observations about Reagan, but I had never heard that one.
Well, what you wrote was, Dear Peggy, it was good to hear from you. I was going to write and tell you I met your brother at a urinal at the track in Saratoga. He was fine.
Isn't that just the one Imus would pick out to read on the air?
Apology only has one G. Did she misspell apology?
Yes, she
Oh,
did.
God, man, I love that. Don't you love that?
I
can't stand it.
I do love it.
Oh, man.
I'm not a great grammarian, but I have behind me lots of books on usage, and it's a hobby of mine.
What we love, the New York Times, as you know, has this manual, reissued this manual of style and usage, and we actually had some listeners volunteer to try to commit it to memory and then read the paper every day and look for errors. And we said to start with the editorial page. The guy pointed out that Hal Raines at the editorial page, it was like shooting fish in a pan.
No, I love that. I heard all that stuff. You know what they do with my column, and I just hate it. I stick it to them every time. When I call someone the President of the United States, I capitalize P. If he's the President of CBS or something else, I do not. But I think when you say the President, it belongs uppercase P. And they take it down every time. And the Times Style book has it down. Now, I think that is wrong.
I think the Style Times used to have it on, didn't it, Charles?
I can't remember,
Well, many years ago, yes.
Yeah. Well, they're all interesting. A lot of them left me wondering how various things worked out. For example, did you ever resolve the tax situation regarding living in Connecticut and essentially working in New York?
You know, that is still an issue. I am still fighting it. I mean, I paying taxes in 2 states. I mean, I tried to vote in 2 states. You know, try that. You can't be taxed without being able to vote, and I'm being taxed in 2 states and can only vote in 1.
I thought the rule was that if you spent over 180 nights in, for example, Connecticut.
That's true.
But
that's true.
It doesn't apply to you?
No, if you spend 180 nights or days in New York City, then they consider you a resident. And I'm right on the border there.
Oh, I see.
I was interested in your $5,000 somebody pressed on you.
Yeah.
I had a cab driver named Patrick Coyne, C-O-I-N-E, in New York, and he would never take a nickel from me. And he left town, wrote me and said I had to leave the taxi business. I was in Times Square one night, and there was only one other car in all of Times Square, and I hit it. And then I knew it was time for me to quit driving a cab. And so he went down to Mississippi. I got a letter from a doctor, said he was dying of cancer. So I sent him $500, and I said, Patrick, all I'm saying is this is in part payment for all the times you wouldn't let me pay for my cab ride. All I can say is don't use it for anything you need. Use it for something that would interest you. He got all the kids in town at the library and spent the $500 I sent him on ice cream.
Good grief.
Well, we're trying to figure out how to spend $5,000.
Yeah, that's hard. That's a lot of double-deckers.
We're talking with Andy Rooney, whose new book, Sincerely Andy Rooney, is published by Public Affairs. This is a new publisher? Or?
It's a man named Peter Osnos. He was at one time Moscow correspondent for the Washington Post, and then he worked for Random House, and now he has his own name.
You said for many years that you told people that you did not sign the non-communist oath at CBS. When did you discover that you had? When you were doing this book?
Yes, when I did the book. Actually, I did still demand that they give me an affidavit that you had to swear that you were not, never had been a member of the Communist Party and had never worked for anyone who was. So I demanded an affidavit from them saying that Frank Stanton and William S. Paley were not now and never had been communists before I could say I had never worked for one.
Did you ever get that?
No, I never got that.
Why exactly isn't the Ed Sullivan Theater the Arthur Godfrey Theater?
Well, for some reason, Godfrey is the forgotten man of television. He made more money for CBS than anybody who ever lived. He had the #1 or #3 show. He had 2 television shows, one Monday night and one Wednesday night, and they just dominated the ratings, always higher than Ed Sullivan. And he was only on the air with them for about 10 years, and Sullivan was on for 21. All Sullivan had was longevity. And after all, Godfrey did something. Sullivan was essentially a pointer.
Was it Arthur Godfrey who, wasn't Charles and I were talking about this, he fired somebody on the air?
Julius LaRosa.
Julius LaRosa. You know something else he did, Don? I mean, in 1949, I came to work for him in 49. In 1950, CBS wanted to make a television show out of the Arthur Godfrey radio show. He had been on radio for many years. He said, fine, just bring the cameras down here and shoot my radio show. I'm not going to give you any concessions. Just come down and shoot the show. Shot the radio show for 2 years, and that was the television show. Does that sound familiar?
A little bit. Yeah. Has anybody given Mike Wallace a copy of this book?
I don't know whether Mike has looked at it or not.
You get along with him, or what's the deal?
I like Mike a lot. He's good fun to be with.
Have you seen The Insider?
Yes, I've seen The Insider.
And?
Well, I don't know what Mike is mad about. I mean, Christopher Plummer, who plays Mike, is a lot better looking than Mike is. And not only that, the way they have him made up, he looks more like Mike looks. He looks more like a lot better looking than Mike himself. I'm just sorry that I'm not in it. I mean, I was one of the bad guys. How come I didn't get a part?
Did you think it was a fair representation of the role that you had played? And...
Yeah, I thought of all the people who got the bad deal in the movie, Don Hewitt came off worse because, after all, he was in a tough spot. The people who owned the network says you can't run this piece. What's he going to do? Come over and commandeer the control room and put it on?
Yeah, I often point that out to people that, you know, there is somebody signing the check.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to do stuff like that yourself or get your own network.
I don't know. Everybody ought to quit once in a while, but there are a limited number of times you can quit over an issue like this. And I think the producer had a point being annoyed, and I had some stuff that I wrote a piece that was not aired because I complained specifically about Larry Tisch and his connection with the tobacco industry. And it was not aired either, and I should have quit. But I already quit once years ago, and that was about my allotment for quitting.
You seem like he was an awful guy, Larry Tisch.
What do you want me to do, agree with you? Or,
yeah.
Say,
I don't know. Well, no, I don't know. No, I don't. Actually, you're one of the few people we don't want to have you say something that's awful, you know.
Why?
I don't know.
Now, listen, this is dangerous ground you're on, because the immediate comparison comes up between Tisch and your friend and boss.
Well, Carmazin.
Yeah.
Oh, I love him.
Well, why?
Because he's very loyal.
He's loyal, but and he has a lot more charm than Tisch did. But his dedication to money, Don, is just obsessive.
Yeah.
I don't think he watches. I don't imagine he watches or listens to your show and doesn't care what you do or say.
And that is bad because 25 to the hour here, the average minute program. In the story that ran in The Advocate back in 1989, that I guess subsequently resulted in the president of CBS at the time, CBS News, David Burke, suspending you for 3 months without pay. Did you ever find out why that reporter wrote that you had said blacks have watered down their genes when you clearly had not said that? And he, of course, could not prove that you had said that.
No, it just is not a phrase that sounds like I would have said. Does it to you or to anyone else?
No.
I had said, and this is a dangerous thing I have said, and it had nothing to do with blacks, is that it seems to me that the least fit among us are having the most children. In other words, people who don't get to high school are having the most children. People who get to high school and drop out are having the next most. And as you go up, you get to college graduates, and then to people who get their master's degree are having the fewest children of all. And to some extent, at least, you can equate education with intelligence. And I just thought that this could ultimately lead to the diminution of the species. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a fascist thought, but I've had it.
Well, the initial complaint, as I remember, was that you had written for a CBS News year-ending documentary. There was some recognition in 1989, this was in 1989 year-end, there was some recognition in 1989 of the fact that many of the ills that kill us are self-inflicted: too much alcohol, too much food, drugs, homosexual unions, and cigarettes were all known to.
Yes, that is, you put your finger on the paragraph that caused me all the trouble. And what the homosexual community said I should have said was unsafe sex, not homosexual unions, and I should have said that. But that was it. I said that the whole community was having to pay for too many of the ills we suffer that are self-induced.
And then it was after that that reporter...
He called me, yes.
He called you and then apparently made up this phrase that you had... Well, obviously did. Well, the suspension didn't last as long as it was supposed to, did it?
I think it was 3 weeks, something like that.
It was supposed to be 3 months, and then
yeah,
there were so many people outraged by all of it.
All the ratings went down.
I do remember that, yeah.
I may have lucked out on that. I don't know.
We're talking with Andy Rooney from 60 Minutes. Well, who advised you not to reprint the letter that you wrote, the Advocate, after they had published the story? It was a great letter. I mean, why did they advise you not to?
Almost everybody.
Really?
My family and my friends and everybody. Well, I'm glad you said that because I looked it over and I said, I don't know. This is what I believe.
Well, that's a great letter. That's a great letter. Have you read it, Charles?
No.
Well, that's a great letter. Have you seen the movie Saving Private Ryan?
Yes, I have.
Yeah?
Don, I saw some ad for a new movie coming out saying as good as Saving Private Ryan can't possibly be. I saw World War II like very few people still alive, and I didn't think I could ever be taken by a movie about it. I wept in Saving Private Ryan. It is almost a great picture. It is a great picture.
Did you read Brokaw's book, The Greatest Generation?
I read the chapter about me. That's typical, isn't it?
Of course. All you read of it?
No, I read some of the others. He had a good idea, and
he didn't know. I asked him, and he's a fairly self-effacing guy.
He's a good guy. Really
he is a good guy. He said he had no idea it was going to resonate as it has.
No, I don't think he did. He just touched a nerve. I mean, it was amazing that it was such a popular idea. He's wrong, of course, absolutely wrong. But it was a good idea.
What do you mean wrong?
Well, there was nothing special about my generation. I mean, we won World War II because we were fighting World War II. But if we had World War II now, young people would be fighting it. They would be different themselves, that's all. I mean, I don't think human nature has changed much since the Romans were feeding Christians to the lions. I just don't think there's much difference in humankind. We have changed. We got a lot of good toys now, but I don't think the human brain has changed much.
I think the reason we tend to think that's not the case is because of Vietnam, don't you? I mean, because so many people were against Vietnam, and it wasn't the same. Obviously, it wasn't the same.
It wasn't the same.
No, of course not.
And you know what happened? When I was in college, I was 19 or 20, and I was opposed to going into World War II. And I think there were a great many people my age who were against it. And it turned out, when we got there and found out what the hell the Germans were doing, we were embarrassed ever to have opposed our entry into the war. And we got into World War II too late. And as a result, we got into Vietnam too early, because the people in charge at that time were like myself, had opposed entry into World War II, and they were embarrassed about that. So we got into Vietnam too soon.
The reason we have fond memories of General George S. Patton because of George C. Scott, or?
Oh, he was such a boob. I mean, he was a bad general. He got too many American soldiers killed for his own glory. He was a bad general. I knew Patton. I love it. I mean, I love that thing you do. Yeah, that is. I break up every time I hear it because it catches him.
I guess we're doing George C. Scott, aren't we, Charles? You write it, so
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's pretty close to Patton. He was just, he came close to forbidding the Stars and Stripes, the Army newspaper, for which I wrote, being distributed to the Third Army, because we often did things that he didn't like, and he was on the verge of forbidding us distributing it from the Third Army, and Eisenhower said, "George, go home, go to bed. We're going to have this paper in your army."
It's 18 till the hour here in the Imus Morning program. We're talking with Andy Rooney. His new book, Sincerely Andy Rooney, is a collection of his letters. Almost every one of them prompts you. Yeah. You'll find yourself wanting to call him and talk to him, but you're not going to be able to because you don't have a radio program and you can't sell books for him.
There's something to make almost everybody mad in there.
In this letter you wrote your children about religion and what you do and do not believe, you describe yourself, correct me if you will, of course, essentially as an agnostic. Now, it was written in 1989, and it's probably a dumb question, but I guess you still feel the same?
Yes, I still feel the same. Only more so.
Why?
Why am I an agnostic?
No.
Because I am skeptical of the whole invention of religion, a God, to explain the nature of the universe. I mean, we don't know what has happened. We have this huge puzzle on our hands, the puzzle of life. We do not know what life is all about. We don't know how it was created, where it came from. And we have invented this answer. I don't pretend to know, but we should not stop trying to find out by saying it's the work of God. I mean, then from whence God?
In the version of the Bible that I have back in my office that I, of course, can't find until often I read it, the introduction to the New Testament, the Gospels, the Word of God, Jesus, all of that has to be, I mean, it's almost a tenet of the whole idea, is to have fundamentally accepted on faith. Well, why does, I mean, and you even write that, you know, like Wall Street types and people who are very analytical types, well, like Mill, for example, and other people who demand a rational answer for everything, don't have any answer for their faith, but accept it.
No rational explanation for why they believe, no.
But what's wrong with just, I mean, there are a number of other things we accept on faith. What is?
Well, like what?
Well, I mean, I was faithful that you were not going to use the F word, for example, on the program this morning. Or that there's air to breathe, or those may not be good examples, but...
No. Examples are tough. I hate to be asked for examples.
No, I'm sorry you asked me, too.
Yeah, I knew you would be. That's why I asked.
But I walked right into it, and I knew I was going to do it. In fact, I even told Charles, I said, I'll just make a fool of me, but then you won't be the first, will he? How did it all last? But faith just doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work. Oh, you made that plain. It doesn't work for you.
No, I with what little... I do not have great intellect, but I think we should all use whatever we have to solve whatever problems we can that we're faced with.
What was the reaction, if I may ask you, of your children to that letter?
Almost none, because they already knew there were no surprises in it for them. I mean, they didn't write me and say, "Oh, Dad, don't say that" or anything. They all knew what I thought. They just we didn't talk about it.
And finally, what is the mystery surrounding Harry Reasoner's death? What is it for his family?
Well, it was not clear exactly how he died. He fell down some stairs in his home in Westport. It's a very sad thing. It's of all the things you're asking me about, it's the thing I least like to talk about. He was a dear friend and maybe the most brilliant correspondent television ever had. He just had great brains.
How do you feel about CBS now today, as you did? Well, you left for a while.
Well, I left. You know, it's interesting about, I don't know why I said this, I guess, but I'm very loyal to CBS because I have been here so long. But loyalty is a thing all unto itself. It's good to have, even though what you're loyal to doesn't deserve it. And I am loyal to CBS, even though it is no longer what I started out being loyal to. I like news a lot. I just am one of those people who believe that if everybody knew all the truth about everything, it would be a better world. And that's what news ought to try to do, but it no longer is doing that. Television news is now just another commodity, and it's a shame, but I am still loyal to CBS, and I like to see it prosper.
Good luck with this book. I mean, you don't need that, but...
Well, I guess I do need it.
Yeah. It's a fascinating collection of letters. I didn't read every single one of them, but I read most of them.
Can I say something nice about you, too? Does that be all right?
No.
You know what I like best about your show is the way you use the network correspondence. You get more out of those people than the networks get out of them themselves. I think to myself, I should think they'd object to Imus getting so much stuff out of them that they don't use themselves. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Happy holidays and all that stuff.
Merry Christmas. I'm not Jewish.
God bless you, Andy.
Sports Talk 980, first with scores and breaking sports news.
Selway bragging rights once again belong to GW as the Colonials upset Maryland 74-69 last night to win the BB&T championship over the Terps for the second time in 3 years. Valiant Brown led GW with a game-high 27. The Redskins once again failed to beat another above 500 team, falling to the Lions in Detroit 33-17. The Skins committed 14 penalties in the loss. The good news is the Cowboys lost in New England.
Observation about Andy Rooney, and that is there are few people who you can ask a question of and be assured that you're going to get a straight answer.
Every time.
Every time.
Brutal honesty.
Yeah. I mean, brutal. Absolutely. Well, he and I differ about the Zen Master. I mean, obviously he likes the Zen Master, but I guess. But I mean, it is a business. We have to pay these salaries. We have to pay the rent.
We're there to make money.
Well, that's the deal. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, we like doing it, and it's fun and all that.
It ain't Amazon.com.
But it's why they didn't run that cigarette thing. That's why Hugh didn't run that cigarette thing. I mean, you know, we're trying to get the stock to 100. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. I mean, that's the case closed.
We got a shot at it.
He doesn't. How old is he? 70-something?
Yeah.
He doesn't sound 70-something, doesn't he?
Very sharp. Has lost nothing, apparently.
I really like him.
I do. A little uncomfortable when he's complimenting the I-Man, though. Yeah,
that does good on
Don't you hate when people suck up to Imus?
I do.
Well, I don't think he was doing that, but I mean, he was. Well, now you don't get the feeling that he's. I don't know. I mean, I really look forward to having him on.
Yeah.
I was really. Well, most of these people just put him on because they, I don't know, they have somebody on. Brokaw will be on tomorrow. I like having him on. So, I mean, that's. Doris will be on Wednesday. I like having her on. So.
Will they give you 100% honest answers, like Andy?
Not 100%.
No.
No. Brokaw's pretty good.
Yeah, he's a little politically correct.
For the Nick attendance,
Yeah, I mean, no, there's some things about Brokaw that are not good.
Yeah, no, that's.
No, there's some things about him that are not good.
Like what?
That whole Nick thing.
That is terrible.
But he was honest about when I asked him about. I mean, most people who had written that book would have said, "Well, I tapped into it. I sent it," and he said, "No, it's not." So he's an honest guy. Well, he's not a phony, but he's a little,
Well, what?
Well, I mean, I think he's a little politically correct sometimes.
A little showbiz in him.
Let's see.
Can't all be Andy Rooney, you know.
Now, two other people who always give you honest answers, Bernie and Lou. That's it.
Oh,
yeah, that was a great interview, boss. You look good.
Bernie, Lou, and Andy Rooney.
They are just the two.
I love that jacket. Total candor.
They are the two worst slugs on the planet.
How good is that salsa, huh?
You didn't catch those checks yet, did you?
Oh, no. Yeah, Mike's another honest guy in there.
Yeah, listen to Mike.
Yeah.
I love the Dixie Chicks.
Yeah, I'm getting to hate him. And one more interview with AP, and we'll never play him again.
I love that.
I mean, these three bimbos got to shut up.
The Dixie Sluts.
Jesus God Almighty, the Dixie Porker and the Dixie Sluts.
I wanted to be on Hollywood Squares.
Good God, please shut. Go back in the studio and make another album and be quiet.
Sing, don't talk.
We're family feud.
Mike.
And Amy Grant.